consistency is not a big thing here at Michigan for the coaching staff. But, the one thing that's consistent is Jim Harbaugh is the head football coach. So that's a good thing for Michigan, I think, going forward, best case scenario. But two new coordinators on both sides of the ball. So on the defensive side of the ball, Harbaugh hired Jesse Minter from Vanderbilt. You look at the stats, you go to Vanderbilt stats. If you're a Michigan fan, I advise you not to because they were at the bottom of the list in just about every category you can imagine. So I still think it's a good hire for Michigan. He's got Ravens connections as well, so it'll probably keep the system consistent, for the defensive scheme for these players too. In terms of the offense, Matt Weiss is going to be elevated from the QB coach to be a co-O coordinator. He'll still focus on the QBs, but get some play calling duties. And sharing those play calling duties, which I think is interesting, is Sherrone Moore. So well-deserved promotion for him. He went from a tight ends coach to the O-line coach. Obviously, they had the best O-line in the nation last year, and now he's a co-O coordinator as well with some shared play calling duties. The other pieces to the puzzle, Jay Harbaugh, who was special teams coordinator of the year, I believe, he is now going to move to do special teams, but also safeties. And then Ron Bellamy used to coach safeties, and he's now moving to the wide receiver position with Josh Gaddis leaving. So I think the Bellamy to wide receivers move is a huge move for Michigan. Gaddis was struggling on the recruiting trail and really was non-existent here down the stretch, and so Michigan had some negative effects on the recruiting trail for wide receivers. Bellamy, obviously, a very, very good recruiter, so things will go well there. And then finally, to round it all out, Grant Newsome is elevated from a GA to now the tight ends coach to fill in where Jay Harbaugh was. So lots of movement there, but there you go.
Before we continue, just want to take advantage of a bit of a reset for everyone. Again, leave your comments and questions there in the live chat. We just heard from Justin Rowe. Catch his bi-weekly podcast. So it's Monday, first thing in the morning, Friday, first thing in the morning, mostly Michigan football, Michigan basketball, Blue by 90 podcast. Of course, below me, Desmond Upshaw, the host of our Michigan post game here, the voice of college football. And typically I'm stealing the hosting duties away from Desmond this week to get started. And Dre Artis, of course, another host for us here at the voice of college football, Michigan post game. So before Dre and Des, I cut you guys loose on any questions, and I think we've got Justin for 5 or 10 minutes here. You alluded to the obvious for me, Justin. Does a Michigan football fan want a Vanderbilt defensive coordinator coming in and coaching the defense? So you alluded to the numbers not necessarily being what a Michigan fan would want to see.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's one of those things where if you look at just the numbers, you're not going to be happy about this hire. But you have to think about, the talent pool that you're pulling with Vanderbilt. I also think there were some scheme things that you looked at last year. I did go back and watch some Vanderbilt defensive film, which also wouldn't advise any fan of college football. It might just push you away from football in general. But he was trying to do some things with that group that they just didn't have the talent to do. So you have to realize what the talent looks like at Vanderbilt when you're going against, Georgia, Florida, Bama. The games and teams that you're going up against are not easy ones. You literally don't have an easy game on your schedule. So I think the big thing, we actually talked about it when we were talking about him as a candidate for this job, was the consistency part. He has Baltimore Ravens experience. And so for these players not to have 3 different defensive schemes and systems in 3 years is important. And I think that's what Jim Harbaugh is going for here.